ready to rock.
All right. Welcome to the OutRun Us Podcast. My name is Taylor Rockwell, but you can call me Tay-Rock. With me, I have my lovely co-host.
Hello. My name is Kitia, but you can call me Kit, Kit Kat, or Kat, whichever.
Don't call me.
Oh, do I say that every single time? Okay, don't call me Katija, and we can be friends.
That always makes me laugh, though. It is just funny because that's like how your name is spelled. So it's just funny at the church.
Yeah.
Don't call me this. Where do we begin? We have so much to cover, and I'm so excited for this episode because we announced the winners. We announced the next week's challenge or next month's challenge. We have so much to go over. So where should we start?
I think we should start with the recap of what happened last month and the winners and the individual winners and everything about last month's challenge because it was crazy.
Okay, let's start before it becomes a dream because it's all starting to become a distant dream. Like I'm not even believing that it
Halfway
even
is a
happened.
blur. Yeah, honestly. Did we actually do that?
Go ahead
The
and break it
final
down
podium.
for us.
I'm going to start with team number 3, which was Adam Love and Chris Earl with a total miles of 892.2 miles. You heard it right.
892 miles in 1 month, 31 days.
And that's third place. So that's third place. Anyways,
Okay,
moving
second
on
place.
to second place is Team Wisconsin, which was Sam Forstner.
I think that's how
Yeah?
you say it, Forstner. I think.
Sorry if I said it wrong. And Logan Lutz with 945.2 miles.
945.2 miles. Crazy. But you know what's more crazy? Team number
The
1.
first place, yes. Team number 1 is Team CT, which are Taylor Rockwell and Carlos Arana with a total of 962.5 miles.
Yours truly, Taylor Rockwell, in first place.
Okay, you can keep your $100.
Oh my God. Okay, we need to go over the prize winnings here in a second, but nonetheless, I feel like it's kind of crazy. Just to reflect, at the beginning, I said, "Think you can outrun me? Prove it." And this whole challenge was about everyone on the internet trying to outrun me, and it was me essentially trying to protect my throne, protect my $100, like you're saying. And then we got ASICs involved. We had some other sponsorships involved. And it just became like bigger. But I do want to touch on that in a second. But nonetheless, I want to say never in a million years did I think like that's where we would have ended up at the end of the month. And 2, that the teams under me would be so close. Not only did we do that, but so did a bunch of other teams. And we definitely need to hit on you because your team was essentially in third place majority of the competition. Katia and Caleb are on a team, and then Adam and Chris are on a team. And you guys kept flip-flopping third and fourth place often throughout the challenge, but for the most part, you were mostly in third place. And you finished your last day. Go on, say how many miles you logged your last day.
Me, personally, or my team?
You personally.
I logged 550 miles in January, and I ran 41.63 miles on the last day because, like, let me explain. Can I explain
Yeah.
why? So I woke up at 508.4 miles, I think, if I remember right. And I was just sat and I was thinking, okay, what I need to, because I was kind of like fighting with Sam for the first place. And I was like, okay, I know Sam he's just going to run a marathon. Like there was no doubt he's going to do a marathon, right? So in my head, I was calculating. So if I do a marathon, that would get me to like 534 miles something. But then if I go to that, I might as well go to 535 miles. But then I was just calculating and none of the numbers were making sense in my head. And then I was like, and the sun was out and I was like, okay, let's just go out and see how far I can run. And I was running, everything was great. And then I got home because I needed to put something down. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do 550 miles, right? And I committed to it. And I was like, this is it. My mind is set. I'm doing 550 miles. I went out and I had the worst, I just hit the worst rainstorm. And I was like 3 miles away from home and I was under the tree and I was like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Please remind me, why am I doing this? And then I got home, I had to change and everything, but I already committed to 550 miles. But the funny thing is, the more I ran, the more I tried to kind of not convince myself, I tried to get out of running 555 miles because I just like these numbers were popping in my head that I was just thinking, no, and then I basically had to settle myself and be like, no, you're just going to get to 550 miles because no other number made sense in my head. But yeah, I don't even know how I did it because half of it's a blur. But yeah, here we are. And I did
So the
550, but
last
you did 500 miles. So you're not far off.
Yeah, but so the last day you ran essentially an ultra marathon and you went to bed in third place. So the last day you clocked in, okay, I did 550 miles, you put it all on the line. You ran an ultra marathon your very last day. Your partner was also running half marathons every single day. You guys
Yeah.
put it all on the line, went to bed in third place. Last I checked, you were in third place when I went to bed too. And then we woke up that next morning and something else was reflecting. Yeah, what was that feeling like, to wake up and, you were ultimately the one calculating the scoreboard. So when you're putting in the numbers, tell us the moment you realized you went from third place to fourth place.
I think I want to try and say this correctly too, I kind of had a feeling that we might not get to the third place because I spoke to my teammate and he had a little bit of injury and everything. We kind of came to the conclusion. I was like, you need to rest. He also had he also paced the marathon on Sunday, which was the next day. And as much as I enjoyed competing in the challenge, I did not want anyone to get injured, you know? And I kind of had like a thought that we might not get it because, like I said to Caleb, I was like, make sure you rest and make sure you take care of yourself and everything. And obviously, I did go out and run an ultra marathon and everything, but I knew Adam and Chris is not going to let it go.
Mhm.
And because we were so close, I think when I went to bed, we had like maybe 20-mile difference. And I think at that point, Chris already ran, I think he said he ran 18 miles. And Adam, I don't remember how much he ran, but I knew they're going to come for us anyways. They're going to make sure that they overtake. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, yeah, that's, they overtook us and they're in the third place. But when I looked at their Strava, between both of them, they ran 58 miles on the day. I think Chris ran 30 miles. So well earned. Honestly, hats off. Well earned. Like they did. And I literally looked at their Strava of pictures and everything. It made me laugh because they did put a lot of effort in to overtake us. And,
Yeah. I
it was
mean, I
it was a bummer, but it is what it is. Like health in my, health comes first anyways. And also Caleb did have, race to run and he was pacing 3:30 marathon and he did absolutely amazing. And so, yeah, everything's great. It was a bummer. Obviously, it's always a bummer if you don't get in a podium, but next time.
Nonetheless, I'll say, like, you and Caleb really did put your best foot forward. You guys didn't slack a single day. You proved it. 550 miles in 1 month. Like, you gave it your all. The last day you ran an ultra marathon. So, like, hats off to you. Gold star to you. Like, that's incredible. Now, just to come back to, like, Adam and Chris, you put it all on the line, and for them to outrun you just proves how dedicated they are because my favorite thing about running is you cannot fake it. Whether you run 20 miles at a 5-minute pace or a 10-minute pace, or even if you can do it at like a 15-minute pace, you run those miles. You can't fake
Yeah.
it. So at the end of the day, like you might think, oh, I went to bed and we only had a 20-mile difference. But think about that. They still had to run 20 miles to
Yeah.
outrun you, and they did. And I think that just shows so much on the type of runners they are, the teamwork they had. You know, you guys dropped crazy numbers. So for them to outrun you and to take, you know, the lead on third place, make podium, I think that just kind of shows you like how steep this competition was, and not to mention the type of athletes we had competing against each other, because that's not easy. And so if anybody is going to beat you, you know, at least you made it hard for them. You gave them a challenge.
100%. 100%. Because honestly, when I was going to bed and everything, I was looking at the leaderboard, and Chris said I did 18 miles. I'm sure I don't want to say it wrong, but something down the lines like I did 18 miles, I'm done or something, because we did put like, how many miles are you running? Asking for a friend as a joke, just to kind of see what to expect. Because also we had like a time difference a bit as well. So I just wanted to kind of know what to expect when I wake up in the morning. But yeah, but for them to go and do more afterwards, it's like I knew they were tired. I knew they were like kind of pushing themselves. And I think that's like, this is what it is about the challenge, like how far you're willing to go, and how, as you said, you do need to run the miles. You can't just, the miles are not going to add up themselves. So
Mm.
yeah, it was great. It was honestly, it was fun. And it was just, I did not expect it in the beginning of one, if you ask me, 100%. That was not what I thought how the challenge is going to end.
Yeah, and to be fair, I went to bed in knowing that my team was in first place, but if you look, what is the difference between me first place and second place? It's
It's
less
like
than
7
20
miles.
miles. 17,
No.
right? 16?
Oh yeah, something like that. Don't ask me because
Yeah.
my maths is
That's
non-existent.
okay. But nonetheless, first place, me and Carlos. Second place, Sam and Logan's team. We're only 17 miles difference. And in my head, you know, me and Carlos, we were looking at each other the night before and we're like, should we hop on a treadmill? And we're having this conversation at 11:30 p.m. And we're like, should we start running right now? And ultimately, we were like, no, I think we're okay. But then there is a time difference. So our midnight would strike before their midnight. So they would have longer time to run. And so we were like, should we get on a treadmill and run? And we were like, even if we both got on a treadmill right now, we would only log, you know, 6 to 8 more miles. I'm not sure if that's like enough, you know? And I did have a
Mm,
feeling they already ran, but it wouldn't take that much more for them to still be running right now and then secure that first place. So we even were going to bed just kind of like, all right, wishful thinking, putting our head on the pillow and hoping that by the time we wake up, we don't see something different. So it was such a tight call between first, second, third, and fourth place. You like it was any one of our games, because we were just so close. And for that, like hats off to all the athletes, like not only the top 4 seeds, but everyone, because I know that a lot of people were telling me even lower in the leaderboard, those teams were fighting each other because those teams
yeah.
were so close to each other. And I know it's like easy to put a lot of spotlight on the podium finishes, but even the ones that were fighting for fifth, sixth, seventh, even I know 10 and 11 were just fighting with each other to be top
Yes.
10. They were so close that it was crazy, like
It
such a
was like
crazy turnout.
every day I was just looking at it, and it was such a small difference. Sometimes it would be like a mile difference if you are in top 10 or you're not. And it's just like it can change anytime. One day you take a day off, you're probably going to be so down the leaderboard that it's like you can't take a day off because you're
No,
just not going to,
I
make
was
it
talking
to top 10.
I was talking to Martina and Isaac's team, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what they said. They took like one day, and they were like, one day made the difference between when we were like in the competitive edge, where one day we take off and we just drop significantly on the leaderboard. And that's where I'm trying to highlight, like all the athletes were working so hard that it's like if you weren't matching that crazy, you would just fall behind. It was like you had no time to think or rest. You needed to like go and put your best foot forward for 31 days straight. So like applause to the OutRun Us athletes. Like you guys did such an immaculate job. I'm so proud of everyone who competed.
100%. Because also, I think they had the individuals were kind of like fighting between themselves as well. Because I remember somebody put, oh, are we playing a frog lag? Or how is it called? I think something like that. Because when they're overtaking each other,
Oh,
because
leapfrog.
yeah. So, yeah, I think every single person had another person that they were looking out for and being like, no, I don't want them to overtake you. Because Strava also sends you those, or the messages that somebody has overtaken you. So you're like, hey, I don't want them to be, higher than me. So I need to go and overtake. It wasn't just about the leaderboard. It wasn't just about the top 3 or top 10 or anything. I think it was across the whole challenge.
Yeah, and we had put in the chat, if you have outrun yourself. So if you have ran more this month than you have ran any other month in the entire running career journey, let us know in the chat. So from the ones who did reach out to us, were the ones who outran themselves. Abraham Singleton, Adam Lowe, Caleb Michael Files, Carlos Arana, Chris Earl, Katia, my girl, Sean Caven, Taylor Rockwell, and I know Danny said he also had to outrun
Yes.
himself, but he didn't put it in the chat, but he put it in the comments later that he also outran himself. And so if you think about that, what is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, like around 10 athletes not only did more this 1 month than they've ever done in their entire running career, like journey, they outran themselves. And I don't know about you, but 10 people just randomly 1 year on a January, to say the least, be like, I'm gonna run more this month than I've ever ran ever. I don't even know how to like put like value on what that actually means.
When I look at it, taking from myself, I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't, as we spoke about it before in the previous episodes, that I only ran my first 100-mile week a month before the challenge started. To now go and do a month doing 100 miles and more a week just makes me realize how much I have boxed myself into thinking this is all I can do. And then, but I also think because I was on my own, like I run on my own most of the times. I barely ever run with anyone else. I train by myself. I think that just shows me that having community to be like, no, you can go a little bit more. No, you can do more. And also seeing other people doing more. I'm just sat there and thinking like, if they can do, why can't I? Right? So that helps me try and do more than I have ever have before. And I think a lot of people now realize that how they limited themselves before is just crazy because they can do maybe double of what they have ever done before. And I think it just makes us see how capable we are when we put mind towards something and we are like, no, we want to win this challenge, and like how far you're willing to go and what you're going to do to get where you want to get. So I think for me personally, it just showed me how much I limited myself based on my own beliefs and maybe based on other people's beliefs around me that would always tell me, you need to rest and you need to do these things. But then when you're surrounded by people that are like pushing each other and supporting each other, it's just like you can do double or triple. I don't know what other people's highest mileage was in a month, but mine has never been near to what I got this
Right.
month.
Two things. One, I have had the opportunity that I've learned from other athletes that I aspire. One is Carlos Arana. He taught me this. And two is Jimmy, one of my good friends. I'll link their accounts down below if you want to find them because both of them have really good philosophies on running. And they ultimately preach something similar, and it has developed me to have my own philosophy on running. And the biggest thing that I want to highlight is to have zero expectations. When zero expectations on how to perform when you go to races, when you go to events, when you enter challenges. Me coming into this challenge, I feel like if I had an expectation of like, oh, I'm going to run 300 miles this month, even to say that I've never ran 300 miles in a month before, if I were to had said that and that would have been my expectation, it almost would have limited me to being able to run 500 miles that month. So I'm glad I never put an expectation that I needed to run a certain amount. In my head, my expectation was just to give it my all. And that's what I did, is just to go out and experience. I would encourage any runner listening to this to try that next time. Next time you have a race, don't go into it thinking I want a PR, because if you go in being like, "Oh, I want to PR my marathon. I want to run a 3:30." Then you think like, "Okay, I need to run an average mile of, I don't even know, like 7 miles or 7-minute miles." But what if you're capable of going faster? So don't even have an expectation to run 7-minute miles. Just go in and give it your all, because you might surprise yourself that your all is actually a 6:30 mile and you're actually capable of PRing a lot quicker than a 3:30 marathon. But it's like when you put expectations on something, in a way, expectations or, even goals can sometimes be disguised as goals, expectations. They might be appearing to be good intentions, but in reality, they're limiting beliefs and can limit you. So I've been really thankful for the opportunity that this challenge has taught me to, yeah, see the depths, see the limits that I once put on myself. Because, yeah, if you would have told me in December, like, hey, next month you're running 500 miles, I would have been like, who? Like, that
There's
wouldn't have
no
been
way.
me. Yeah. So, not having expectations, I think, is really the cheat code to unlocking your full potential and really pushing your own limits and, being the better version of yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I remember now, I think I was like I have like so many clips that I have recorded during the challenge, and it's fun to go back and see myself because honestly, half of it is a blur. People ask me how I did it. I was like, I don't remember. So it's fun to go back to some videos that I recorded before. And I remember there was this video that I recorded, and it was like the best and the worst thing about this challenge is the best thing is you don't know how far you're going. And the worst thing is you don't know how far you're going. Because the best thing is like you don't know, so you can't in your head think like, oh, I have like 200 miles to go, right? So, and for example, in my head, I would think that's so far. And then I would get into my head and think how I'm going to do it, what I need to do it, and everything. But also, the worst thing is like you might have 300 miles still to go, you know? So, yeah, it was definitely best and worst thing with this challenge is that you don't know how far you're going to go, but also like you don't know how far you're going to go.
And with that, sometimes people will ask, both of us, how do you do it? And you made a funny reel where it's like, how do you run so much? And it cuts to you putting on your shoes and just start running. Like you just start running. But truly, we're not exceptions to this. Every runner, no matter elite, casual, fun, every runner has had those days where you almost have to sit there and have a conversation with yourself where you're like, okay, I just need to get through this run. And in those moments, I catch myself being like, it's not getting through. It's not, I have to run. It's, reminding yourself you get to run. Why do we train? Why do we want these experiences? And every single time I'm in those positions, I just put my shoes on, and by a mile in, I'm like, okay, we're in it. Like, and it just feels so relaxing.
Mile?
So,
It took me 3, 4 miles sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, please bring that feeling that, like, okay, this is fine. We can do this.
yes, sometimes it does take longer, but what I'm saying is like if you think about what you have to do, and this goes far beyond running. This is life. Running is a metaphor for life. If you think about everything you have to get done or these things you need to achieve, it takes the experience out of it. So reminding yourself like you have these goals, you have these desires to experience certain things in life, whether it's getting a job or living somewhere or making a move or anything like that. Those are all opportunities you get to experience, and then having the opportunity to just take small steps forward, just walk a mile in that shoe in that direction, and then all of a sudden you remember and have gratitude as to why we do these things, and remembering, like truly just remembering why, and then experiencing. And like, yeah, it's not like you're saying you find yourself under a tree in a storm and you're like, how did I get here? Why am I here? Like you were
Yeah.
describing at the beginning of the episode. But ultimately, now it's all said and done, and now it's an experience and a journey that you get to share, you get to laugh about. You're dry now, it's funny now, but that's the journey, that's the fun. And so embracing, you know, I think sometimes in ultra world they always say like embrace the suck. It's like funny, but truly like embracing the funny moments of like, oh my god, it's raining. How did I get here? And just embracing it and using the philosophy of running as a philosophy of life, you know, when things just don't go right. Just start laughing
I
and dancing through it.
I agree. And also, I just kept thinking about sometimes I can get in my head quite a lot and be like, I don't want to do this. It's raining outside, it's cold outside, this and that and everything. But when you kind of like remove all those excuses and you kind of like just, as you said about the reel, like how do I run so much? Sometimes you just put your shoes on and you just go outside. You don't question it. You just, at some point, it became, it's for me, it's like, it's just what I do now. It's just my experience, what I do. And I have all the excuses in my head most of the time, but also that's the whole thing about it for me. It's kind of like, even today, I posted a reel saying like the hardest part about running is just getting outside and doing it, because I love running. I genuinely do love running, but sometimes I don't like it because I have to, I have to put the shoes on. I have to go outside. I have to do it. But when I do it, I do enjoy it. Sometimes it takes like 3-5 miles to get into it, but we all been there and all done that. But initially it does go back to what you said, that I get to do it. And that's one of my whys, why I run, because I can just put on the shoes and go outside and do it. No
Yeah.
questions asked. And I kind of like, I'm grateful that I can. And those moments, I just need to remember why I'm doing it. And then I
Yeah.
just put my shoes on and go outside and everything is great. And when you said about the rain and everything, I just committed to it. And I just, in my head, it was like, this is what I do. And I said, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it.
And I just remembered I said there were two parts to that. One
Oh,
was what I
sorry.
said, and then no. You reminded me of what the second part is, because the second part of what I was going to say is I also every day I do not know how many miles I'm going to run every day. Every day I put my shoes on, I just start running. And then it's kind of become like a funny thing, because at my run club, I do a post run club run club. So we meet at the run club, we run the route, and then afterwards I'm like, "All right, if anyone wants more miles, come run with me." And everyone says, "Well, how many?" And I every single time I was like, "Well, I don't
I
know."
don't know.
We just go out and we start running, and then we just as a group kind of always end up deciding what that number is based on how we're feeling. And we have like a motto, no man left behind. I'm not going to leave somebody. We'll go out, and then we kind of as a collective we'll decide what the vibe is, and then we'll come back. And even when I run alone, I don't know how many miles I'm going to be running. I don't know how long it's going to take me. And sometimes everything's different. That is like a daily way that I practice no expectations. Because if you go out one day and you're like, well, I just need to run 3 miles today, I just need to run 5 miles, or just 13 today, those are all expectations. So I guess I'm just trying to highlight to runners, what ways do you put expectations on yourself that then potentially are limiting beliefs? Because if you go out and you're like, oh, I just need to run 5 miles today, you run 5 miles, but have you ever had an experience where you're running and you have this beautiful runner's high and you're like, dang it, I didn't want that run to end. But at the end of the day, it's like you're in control. You're running the ship. So like, why did you stop at 5 miles when you're feeling so good? You took the experience away from yourself. So just not having the expectation of like, oh, I need to run 5 miles. It's like, just go out and experience your run. And I feel like when you leave the expectations off the table, I'm not saying don't listen to your training plans, your coach, your body, whatever. I'm just saying don't put yourself in limiting beliefs of I only need to do this or whatever, and you're not truly experiencing the gift of running because you get too caught up in the politics or the statistics or the strategies behind running.
I want to add to this because it made me think about, I used to would run like, I was used to running in in kilometers. So I would run 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. I would never run a weird number. I would never run just, I don't know, 11.72. No, you got to get to the round number. And I think it started when I was doing the 100-mile week, when I would just stop the run randomly. I would just go out and I would run. And when I feel like stopping it, I would stop. And that's it. I would not put expectation in my head, because I knew I'm either going to run later on or I'm going to run tomorrow. It's different, obviously, when you're in a training plan, and you need to hit certain distances or anything like that. But if you just go out and run, you just run. There's no expectation. There's no expectation of a pace or a distance. If you stop and it's 9.43 miles, that's fine. Move on. Like, it's not that deep. It's like when you said, like, going into politics of the running or statistics or anything like that. Nobody expects you to do anything. If that day I ran, like, let's say 11 point whatever miles, but if I put expectation, I'm going to do 10 miles, I would have done the 10 miles and gone home.
It's all perspective. It's all our own
Exactly.
beliefs. It's all our own standards. So remind yourself, you create your standard, you create your own beliefs. So make sure that they're truly positive, that they truly serve you, and that you're running for the right reasons, ultimately, for whatever the right reasons resonate with you. I
I
also
agree.
wanted to highlight 5 runners in this challenge. We called it the 500-mile club, and we said outran Andy Glaze, because at the beginning of this challenge, I said, think you can outrun us? Prove it. Tag your partner down below. And everybody said, Andy Glaze is my partner. David Goggins is my partner. Being funny.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and at the time that is funny, we were like, oh, what if somebody like that did enter the challenge? But I just want to highlight these 5 characters, because even if Andy Glaze did enter the challenge, these 5 athletes outran Andy Glaze.
That we did.
They were stronger this month than Andy Glaze was in his first month. And not to diss Andy Glaze by any means. Like, he's done this month for months, and we did it 1 month. We did it one month,
Yeah.
and he's been
And
doing
you're
this for a
already like,
long time. But it is kind of funny just to put the statistics to the bar. So we called it the 500-mile club, and that included Adam Lowe, Isaac Nelson Jr. We need to talk about him. Katia, of course, our queen. She took first place as a single runner. And then Sam Forstner, of course. And then Taylor Rockwell, yours truly. But I do want to just highlight, really what these athletes are putting up on the board, because we have standards, going back to standards, whatever. Andy Glaze seems to be the poster child for crazy, but here we are, we have 5 athletes doing the barbaric behavior. So nonetheless, just kudos to them. And then also, to be funny, you had this idea. You had the OutRun Us awards, where we highlighted certain individuals for just like funny, funny awards. And I kind of wanted to talk about them, and you describe how we came up with like the award and why we granted it. Starting with trendsetter Sam Forstner. I hope I'm saying that correct. Tell us why, how did you come up with the trendsetter? Why did we give him that award?
I mean, have you seen his Strava? I think the next time it's not going to be outrun Andy Glaze, it will be outrun Sam. But no, I mean, I think it was when it goes back to, like, when we saw that he entered and we looked at his Strava and we were like, oh, we gotta run, sort of thing. I think he just showed everyone, but also, like, he's professional, like, marathon runner. He runs 2:16 marathons and everything. Like, this is kind of like what he does. So it was kind of like we were trying to live up to Sam's statistics. So the best word to describe that is trendsetter, because we were kind of like, because even on the last day in my head, I was like, I have to run at least a marathon, because that's what Sam does. And we were fighting for the first and second place. So how else? Because he set the standard. He was the one, that we needed to either look up to or overtake. So I think that's just a perfect description of him.
I agree. Sam was definitely like the poster child once he was saying this is how much I ran, we all were like, okay, everyone go get that guy. So trendsetter is probably the best award he could have got. But moving on to Daniel Acuna, he earned the award of carried the boats, and you came up with that. So I definitely want to highlight why you came up with that. It's so funny.
Okay, Danny is exactly what he was. He carried the boat, he carried the team to top 10 on his own. I mean, he had a teammate. I don't know the reasons. Maybe his teammate didn't run as much as, or didn't participate in the challenge. I don't know anything behind it, but Danny kept the team in top 10 till maybe like 2 days before the challenge ended. I think it was something like that, but he was individually fighting with other teams that had two people in it, So he was basically carrying the boat of the team to keep it in top 10 for pretty much 99% of the whole month.
And remind me to talk about how we rewarded him after we go over the other awards. We'll go quicker. Does not give up. Walker Fleming. Go ahead and describe that one.
Okay, he just from the very beginning he was like constantly. He also, I mean, like maybe there were other people as well, but he would kind of like let us know with his videos, reels, and everything that he's desperately trying to get into top 10. And he kept trying. And I remember in the beginning, his teammate wasn't really running. And I'm like, where's your teammate? Like, what is he doing? But yeah, I appreciate Walker. His goal was to get into top 10. And it just showed that he does not give up. He kept trying and trying and trying. So hats off to you.
Yes, hats off. And I'm sure he's not the only one, but these were just like some of the funny ones that stood out to us. Okay, first 200-mile month since April 2020. Chet Kepler. That one's pretty self-explanatory, but nonetheless, like hats off, applause to you. This one I think is a really cool one. Ran first half marathon, Denise Nicole. And this one was cool because her teammate was Sean, I believe. And
Yes.
one night they just put in the chat, everybody go give kudos to my teammate Denise. She just ran her first half marathon, and it was just on a random Wednesday night at 9 p.m. No award, no, supported race, no cheering, no crowd, like nothing that you typically experience when you hear someone ran their first half marathon. This was very untraditional. And it was just between two teammates running on a random night, Wednesday, middle of the week, and accomplished such a big goal, such as your first half marathon. So kudos to Denise. Like, that's a beautiful accomplishment. And, this challenge is exactly big goals, running 550 miles a week, outrunning Andy Glaze, to even running your first half marathon. Like, this is what it's all about.
Well done, Denise. Moving on to the next one. I'm going to let you speak about this one because you came up with this and I can't really speak about myself. So
This one's
you go
funny.
ahead.
So the next one is making grown men cry, to yours truly, Katia.
It's funny, but I remember, I think Danny actually said, yeah, you did make me cry. And it was funny because, no, I will let you talk about it.
This one is funny because Katia had this thing that once she was done dropping her miles for the day, she would go and give all of her competition kudos. And that was her way of letting everybody know I ran today. She would go she would go run 27 miles and then on the leaderboard past everybody, and then she'd go like, good job, good job, good job to all the people she passed. And so everyone in the chat would be like, great, Katia just gave me kudos, you know what's coming. Like, and it became this, this funny joke that everyone would just put like crying emojis once Katia was done running. So we gave her the award of making grown men cry because it was always just like once she was done running, crying emojis entered the chat of everyone being passed.
I mean, it wasn't intentional at first, and I didn't even think twice about it. I was just, that's what I was doing. And then I think it was Adam he started it, he said like, thanks for giving me kudos after passing me. And that made me laugh so much because I didn't do it intentionally, but then I made a point every single time I finished my run, I would go and give kudos to everyone just to kind of like, I ran. You
Oh
go
my
and
god.
do your run now.
I always thought that one was so funny. So definitely just like an inside joke, but explaining the awards. Okay, Outrun Us Award did her first 80-mile week. Lilo Rockwell. Lilo Rockwell, if you don't know, is my little tiny dog, and she's out here outrunning everybody. She runs at least 50 to 60 miles a week. So that's like her usual mileage, but in this challenge, she just did not want to stop. I kept saying, "Do you want to go home?" She would be like, "Nope, let's keep running." So she achieved her first 80-mile week. So kudos to this little dog. She got that dog in her.
Oh, she does. She also
Oh,
trained you. She probably most of the times you would have not either stayed out or gone for runs if not for Lilo. Because Lilo was like, let's go, mom. I'm ready.
yeah.
Let's run.
If I don't run her, she gets crazy. But then our last award goes to the Midnight Runners, yours truly, Taylor Rockwell, her teammate Carlos Arana, and then your teammate Caleb Michael Files. That one's
Yes.
explanatory, but it was just funny because with the time difference, my midnight is usually Katia's morning, which is around 6 a.m. So I would be finishing my run at midnight, and then she would calculate the miles, and she would be updating the leaderboard when she first woke up. But it was funny because a lot of the time my miles, Caleb's and Carlos's didn't even count because we were still running through midnight, and she would, then we'd finish our run. We're like, "Did that count?" And you're like, "No, you were still running. I already calculated for the day." So it was just a funny joke of like all three of our miles never going towards the leaderboard in real time because we were still running through midnight. So we got the Midnight Runner award.
So I would be like, no, I didn't count, but it's okay. Like it's going to go into the next days, but it's just, yeah, that's why Midnight Runners.
Let's end with February's challenge, the reaction we got from February's challenge, the way people have been responding, and let's kind of go into a little bit of the details. So, February's challenge is essentially run 4 miles every hour on the hour for 12 hours. This was Katia's challenge. This was her way that she wanted to, this was her challenge that she came up with. This was her way of challenging the group.
I think the first thing that sticks out for me is when Adam was like, oh, I wish it was something I didn't want to do. And I was thinking to myself, like, it's kind of crazy that it's something that you do want to do in a way, But I think he's training for a backyard ultra. So this is basically a backyard ultra simulation. Then some people were like, yeah, no, I'm sitting this one out. And some people are very excited to challenge themselves. Yeah, somebody also said, I think it was Abraham, he was like, oh, this is my jam. Walker was like, I'm scared and everything. So, but I think a lot of people are very excited to, try it because it is a big challenge. It would seem like it's not. At first, you would look at it, oh, it's like 4 miles every hour. But then when you think about it, it's actually you ending up running a full ultra marathon, 48 miles in the day. Yeah, I think I'm excited, but I'm also like a little bit scared to try and do it. And I know there's going to be multiple people that are going to attempt to do it multiple times because that's what it is. You can do as many times as you want. Yeah, I think the response has been great.
Right before we hit launch, you said to me, you're like, what if this is too hard? What if people don't want to do it because it's too challenging? Did I make it too hard? And my response to you was essentially like, that's the point of these challenges. Like, it's not,
Exactly.
I want to hit on it because we've had, to be clear, Katia and I know the next challenges from the rest of the year. We know what's coming in March, April, July, August, October, all the way down to December. We have the whole year planned. And, a lot of people have been like, you should do this differently. You should do this. Like, what if it's not, what if it's not accessible for new runners? And we've been having these conversations, like, how do we make it appealing for everybody at all levels, but ultimately, we don't want to dumb it down. There's people who do want to do these challenges.
And I understand that, but also this is kind of like we want to do challenges that scare us. And I know there are crazy people out there that feel the same way about these challenges. And also, like, if this month's challenge doesn't suit you, that's fine. You can do it the next month. You know, we have so many different challenges in mind that we're going to do, but we also need to appreciate people's recoveries. We need to appreciate the fact that, like, some people have races and they can't be doing high mileage every single day. You know, me personally, if this month's challenge was the highest miles, I would not do it. And also, like, if it does say 12 hours, but you can try and do 4 hours, you can try and do 5 hours or 6 hours, and just see, maybe in week 4 you're going to be able to do the 12 hours. And I think it's just when you change the perspective of I can't do it to maybe I can do it, and then actually try doing it, and maybe you're going to come out on the other side and be like, oh, I was able to do it, then I think it's going to change a lot for a lot of people. Because yes, of course, you can look at it and think, oh my, there's no way I can run 4 miles on the hour every hour for 12 hours straight. But maybe you can look at it, okay, how can I do it? And try doing it. That's why also we said, like, it's not one time, you try one time and that's it. You can try as many times as you want. We want you to actually challenge yourself, or we want you to raise the limits that you maybe set to yourself. And we want you to dig deep into yourself and find how far you can actually go.
I think that's beautifully said, because I don't want it to be misconstrued that we're not being, say, like, accessible to, like, new runners, and we're only focusing on these crazy challenges, because ultimately it's like we have so many challenges coming up through the year that, like, everybody and anyone who runs can participate at any point. But also we want to be able to not only just push beginner or new runners. We want to push the experienced runners. We want us to grow as runners. I still consider myself a new runner because I'm only in year 2, so I also feel like these are the first time I'm experiencing these things, and I want to push my own limits. Okay, very, very last thing that I want to say, and then we'll wrap it up. Everybody is like, haha, but Taylor Rockwell cannot win her own challenge. She challenged everybody to outrun her on the internet. How did this happen? How did she win her own challenge? This isn't fair. And, as much as I wasn't going to let someone outrun me, I will say I also had this feeling of like, wait, that's not fun. I don't want to, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I won my own $100 back. That's not fun. Even getting the shoes of Asics is like cool, but also it's just like, it feels a little flat. And I wanted to make this experience more fulfilling. And I've been having this thought a lot about running, so I wanted to talk about this maybe next week. But to put a pin in that, I and Carlos discussed that how can we give back to our runners, and ultimately Carlos and I will take our winnings of first place, and we wanted to gift them to other runners we felt that were not more deserving, but definitely deserving. And so I gave my shoes to Katia because she ran the most amount of miles individually, 550 miles in 1 month, and her team still didn't make top 3. And that's not to put shade on Caleb at all. It's just to show how steep this competition was. So we just felt like she really ran her heart out and she deserves these shoes. So I gifted my shoes to Katia because yeah, well
Because all my
deserved,
shoes
well
are run out
earned.
now, thing.
They're flat.
No.
And so then with that, Carlos was like, okay, well, who else, deserves it? And then he gave his shoes to Daniel Acuna, the one who essentially ran the most amount of miles on his own, keeping his team in top 100 or top 10. So Katia and Danny are the ones that took Team CT's winnings ultimately we're donating them to them with pride too. You guys deserve that. And then I want to touch a little bit on the $100. Carlos made a joke. He's like, you should do a double or nothing month. And, he's like, let's keep it rolling. But I feel like we can do more with the $100. And I've been really thinking, how do I make that come to life? And I'm working with something on the background with that $100. And once it's all set up, I'll officially announce what we're doing. But just know I'm not keeping that $100. Team CT isn't cashing out on a new pair of shoes just yet. We're going to be applying it to a greater purpose, a greater need, and really start running with more purpose. So I want to touch on that later, but nonetheless, everyone is kind of like, dang it, Taylor won her own challenge, and I agree. I have that same feeling. So just know that we're giving back to our runners, and $100 will be put somewhere else, and I'll touch on that more officially soon.
I don't even know what to say. Oh, maybe you're grateful.
Aw.
For you.
Well, I love you. It's well deserved. Daniel is a beast. Nonetheless, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing a little bit about his story because he shared it online. But he talked about how he has lost a lot of weight, over 100 pounds over the years, and he would have never imagined himself running over 400 miles in 1 month. So it's just stories like that that really inspire me and make me proud to have this community, make me proud of the runners, and very grateful for this experience. So nonetheless, well deserved, well earned, and you guys rock.
Okay. Should we?
Aw.
I don't know what to say. I don't want to,
Katia.
I don't want
No.
to, I'm like, if I talk too much and think of too much about everything you said, I'm going to start crying. I don't want to cry on the camera. Well, not on camera, on a microphone.
I will say, yeah, beautiful community. So with that, Katia, what are you grateful for today in this moment?
I am grateful for, honestly, I'm grateful for the way I maybe put myself out there. I would say the universe connected us in a funny way. We will talk about it in the future. And then I don't know what I did to have these opportunities in my life, but I'm extremely grateful that I do, because it just shows me how far you can go when you go together. Because all the time I was going on my own, I was moving on my own. And now that I have the opportunity to share it with other people, I see how far I can go and how far everyone can go when you have the support and when you have the encouragement of others. So I am grateful for this community, and I'm grateful for you.
Thank you, Katia, for your beautiful words. Thank you for everybody who participated in January's OutRun Us I Dare You challenge. You guys did not make it easy.
Crazy people, crazy.
Join us for February's OutRun Us Ultra. Nonetheless, you guys rock, and we'll see you next week in OutRun Us Podcast.
Bye.
Bye. It's the byes for me. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my god. Good work. Proud of you.
Same. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.